Hello and welcome to the today's session, LinkedIn for Small Business Entrepreneurs. Guys, once again, thank you so much for taking your busy schedule being here today. And once again, my name is Sharnya Sharma, founder and chairman of Extreme SEO Internet Solutions. And the most interesting part today we're gonna learn something really interesting about social selling and how we can generate leads through the LinkedIn. Because we heard a lot about LinkedIn and LinkedIn lead generation method, but practically we don't have a sound knowledge or practical experience. That's the main reason I have invited the professional and practical LinkedIn experts over here to share their insight with you guys. But before we jump into the session, a little housekeeping before we get started. Here's the short and brief housekeeping announcement. In case if you have any questions, in your right hand, there's a comment box. Post your questions over there. And after this session is going to be 90 minutes. After this session, you have a time like a 20 to 25 minutes to ask your questions from the respective panelists. And meantime, if you have any questions while we're having the discussion, please post your questions. I will make sure I'll bring them up during my presentation, and we will also have time for the questions at the end. And again, once again, guys, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today's session. Now, without any further ado, let me introduce our today's guest speakers. Meet David Tang, Enterprise Channel Director, Education Sector, One Commercial Partner, Microsoft Singapore. Mr. David, thank you so much for joining, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Jill Chitty from Jill Chitty Limited. She's a very professional LinkedIn lead generation expert and also a professional LinkedIn trainer. Jill, thank you so much for joining us. And our very own...
Pleasure to be here.
Yes. And our very own Amit Amarasinghe, and the most famous guy in Sri Lanka who are good in digital marketing. He's a professional marketing expert, and also he's the CEO of Ogilvy Digital Sri Lanka. Amida, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sharanyan, for inviting.
And let me give you a short brief about today's agenda. This session is going to be a bit of formal, and we'll be starting with some formal questions from the guest, and then we'll be running a live questions and answer at the end of the session. And in case if you miss anything, like I said before, ask questions from the right hand side, the comment box. But in case if you're missing the session, don't worry. We'll be uploading the entire recording to our YouTube channel, and you can check out by morning after 10:30 a.m. in Sri Lankan time from the LinkedIn Mastermind group. And without any further ado, let's go ahead with a short background introduction from the panelist. So let's start with David. David, can you give us a short intro about your background and what you're doing in terms of social selling? And again, Jill and Amita.
Sure. I started on social networks some time back, but really into social selling in 2009 when I looked at a video online that actually described why traditional selling methods like picking up the phone, doing cold calls don't work anymore because the lead generation methods were in decline and they were not getting converted. And further on in 2011, I was challenged at a Microsoft meeting to set up a partner group online on Facebook. And my response was, I believe it should be on LinkedIn, because then we won't have to track whether a partner has been promoted or partner has joined another company or even left the channel altogether. And really from that meeting, I set up the first Microsoft Singapore partner group on LinkedIn. And I have been managing that group ever since then. And the recent, I think 6 years, we started on this trend of account-based marketing. We started with a company known as Follows. Then we went on to Point Drive. And then now we are using Smart Links. And account-based marketing started with this theory called flip your funnel. The traditional lead generation funnel looks like a pyramid that it's an inverted pyramid, basically. You start with a very large database based on the customer segmentation, and then you target them whether it's an event, and if they attend and fill in an evaluation form that meets the band criteria, which is budget, authority, need, and timeline, you further meet up with them to establish whether the lead can be validated to an opportunity, and then slowly convert that into a sale. That upside down pyramid, if you flip it, looks like a right side up pyramid, like a right triangle. And the way the funnel can be flipped is if you are already socially listening. And social listening starts with tagging the right companies and the right contacts online to listen for keywords that they talk about socially. For example, if I'm a company selling security products and I put on the social listening keyword for security, if an account, which is a company, or contact working in that company talks about security, it will be flagged in my social engagement frame and I'll be able to target them. Flipping the funnel simply means that instead of paying for a database of 10,000 possible prospects, I would be only going after the hot prospects, the people who are actually interested in what I'm selling. And we are basically in that stage right now.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's hear from Jill. So Jill, could you please tell us about your background in terms of LinkedIn?
Yeah, sure. And I think it's going to be really interesting today because you're going to get several different angles that work for small businesses. Because I get the feel that we're all going to come at it from a very different angle. I've been in business for almost 20 years, and I've bought and sold a few companies. And I was working with a top UK entrepreneur, and there was a lot of pressure on me. And he said to me, what leads are you getting from LinkedIn? And I didn't even know what LinkedIn was. So I come from a base of not knowing anything about LinkedIn. And part of my journey was getting thrown off LinkedIn 3 or 4 times because I didn't know how to use the platform. So I kind of think that should be encouraging for you guys, because if I can do this, then anybody can. And we really come at LinkedIn as a fantastic asset to share everything about your business. Your profile is a place that is the embodiment of everything that you do and you are in your business. And we tend to use the number of 18, so 18 leads to nurture, and we work that list of nurturing clients through content, through building relationships. And the way that we've discovered LinkedIn works really well is just having those relationships continually being built. Because we recognize in human behavior that a sale is a sign of a committed relationship. And in order to do that, you have to have that trust and credibility built in. One of the other ways that my clients have got phenomenal results is by making multiple offers to people. And you can do that so easily on LinkedIn, particularly through content. It's not unheard of for me to get 40 or 50 leads from one piece of content. And then you've got very, very warm, a warm list of people to start working and checking out whether what you've got is right for them and whether they're right for you. So LinkedIn gives phenomenal amount of real estate in terms of what you can share about your business, but also the right components to be able to take people from not knowing you at all to actually taking them off LinkedIn and making a sale.
Good. Thank you. So let's go ahead with Amit.
Give a bit of a background about myself. Actually, I come as a social marketer more than a social seller, I'd say. But of course, the lines are getting blurred, right? Marketing to sales nowadays with technology. So if I go back to my start, actually, I come from e-commerce background, selling hotel rooms online. I mean, I come from online travel agency business, early days of OTAs, 2004, 2005, and we were like heavily dependent on search engines back in the day. Uh, Search engine marketing, pay-per-click advertising, SEO, and those are the predominant ways we used for our business back then in my previous company. And then by like 2005, 2006, this topic of social media was like surfacing on like almost all tech blogs and all the places. They were actually talking about it. Then my company, my CEO and my immediate supervisors, they assigned with me the task, explore the opportunities. Because we were dependent on Google, Yahoo back then, and they asked me to explore the opportunities of how you can actually harvest leads into our e-commerce websites through social media. So that's my story short, how I became a social media marketer. Early days, to cut a long story short, how I actually started with LinkedIn back then was not actually to generate leads as customers. I used LinkedIn initially to generate leads for suppliers. We were actually aggregating hotel rooms across the world, especially in Europe. So I used LinkedIn to connect with hoteliers in Europe and some hotel room aggregators in Europe. And that was my actually beginning on LinkedIn, and it evolved into where I am today gradually. We'll talk, I think, towards the latter part of the discussion, we can actually go into more details. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. How we are having an amazing momentum at the moment here. And let's start the main question from David. So, at the moment, as we all know, the COVID-19 impact not only affecting the large corporates, but also it's affecting the small business heavily. And the ultimate reason for this kind of session and webinar, why? Because the freelancers and the small scale entrepreneurs, they are struggling and they are not able to generate income using their brick and mortar related businesses. So they need to find a way. They need an alternative options in order to generate income and also to pay their employees and to manage the business. And the first topic that we're going to talk about, what are the social selling strategies that you can recommend for the small business entrepreneurs and people who don't have a sound knowledge in social media or social media businesses, how they can get into the social media and how they can start their roadmap in terms of social selling. So let's start this question from David.
Sure. Well, the first thing that a business should think about is why would they want to get onto LinkedIn? And if you can answer that question well, you would be able to discover the how fairly quickly. Now, here's some of the whys. Whenever a business wants to get on any social media platform and they ever intend to generate business leads or interest from people online, you got to think in terms of giving birth. All right. And I've used this analogy internally as well when we have people throw out ideas and then they say, hey, let's start a LinkedIn page or let's start a LinkedIn group. The reason why I say it's like giving birth is the question I ask: how long do you think you should take care of the baby that you have given birth to? Because most of the ideas thrown around the room is around, okay, we're going to appoint someone to be in charge. We're going to hire an external agency to manage it. And fairly quickly, within a few months, you see that everything happening on LinkedIn starts to nosedive, which is people start to switch off, they tune out, they don't participate, nobody joins anymore, and it totally disappears. The why is extremely important, because if you have no intention to take care of a baby that you have birthed, to help them learn how to walk, learn how to run, and to grow up to become an adult, it's going to be fairly quickly that people can see if they jump onto your page or they jump onto your profile and they discover the last time you ever shared an article is 2 years ago, or the last time you ever commented on anything was 3 years ago. They would know that you are not who you say you are. But here's the benefit. You gotta think about this. Everybody who has ever got a web page of their own, a website, has thought of monetizing it, and one of the first things they needed to do was search engine optimization. SEO on LinkedIn is extreme, and here's the reason why. If you ever set up a LinkedIn company page, did you know that if you went on Google and you search your company name, you would find the LinkedIn company page that you set up in the top 3 results? And LinkedIn does that entirely for you free. You didn't have to do any SEO. It just pops out as one of the top 3 results, because LinkedIn sends your company page to Google every single day so that it will be found as one of the top 3 results on Google. And that makes SEO on a LinkedIn company page very easy for you. However, if you ever want to start doing that, you need to look within your organization and find people who are good advocates for social networking. What do I mean by advocates? There are 3 things. The first is you need people who like to share good news. They need to share what is happening. And it's helpful if it's related to your business. So advocates who are good at sharing is the first thing that you look for within your organization. You could spot them if you see them on Instagram, if they post often on Facebook. However, you need to think of LinkedIn as a professional networking site. So you need to look for these kind of advocates who are able to share business-to-business news. The second kind of people you look for within your company are the natural storytellers. People who know what is a good story within your organization. For example, you managed to sell a widget and the widget was sold because of 3 good reasons. And one of them is brand new. For example, now that we are on lockdown, people need more toilet paper. And guess what? My company sells more toilet papers. You need people with good storytelling skills to start to write articles on LinkedIn on your company page. The last one are the people who are good at engagement. And people who are good at engagements are people who will be able to comment or post on LinkedIn so that people who say something about you or share something about you will feel that you are engaged online and not ignoring them. So you must find people who are good at sharing, storytelling, and commenters. Some companies initially started to do this by offering an incentive for any of their staff who is willing to post on their company's LinkedIn page, who is willing to write an article or take some photos or even writes a brochure or good copy and post it on their company page. You could start from there. Try your best never to let your baby or your child be surrogated by someone outside yet. Start first with asking the people who work in your company to help take care of this baby.
Thank you, David. As far as we know, so when you type your name, probably you will see your LinkedIn page instead of your blog. And the same goes with the group, as you said. So LinkedIn, they have their own schema and microdata when it comes to collecting the algorithm, matching with the algorithm through the Google APIs. So I think David perfectly articulated about how LinkedIn is working and why you need to focus on getting into LinkedIn and what are the things that you need to be focused when it comes to segment your process to the LinkedIn market. Okay, so the same question from Jill. So, the same thing that most of the entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs, they have a situation. They want to get into online. They want to find a way to generate income. So, can you recommend, can you tell us something really easy for the basic for the brick and mortars related entrepreneurs, how they want to get into that?
I think we really need to go back to foundations with LinkedIn. It's very much what David was saying in his initial answer to his question. We have to be understanding what's going on in the hearts and the minds and the experience of the people that we want to attract as customers. And certainly marketing has changed with this whole COVID thing. Marketing has changed, the delivery will have changed, and how we sell has changed. And we have to market and social sell out of the context that we're currently in. And the best way to do that is to have that understanding of what's going on in people's minds. Because when people are looking through any platform, but if they're on their mobile, they are scrolling up and down looking for something that attracts them, that's in it for them. And if they spot something that speaks into their world, they will stop scrolling and start engaging with it. And that's such an easy thing. It's free to do. So you've got to be posting on the home feed every day. I just recommend that my clients post once a day, because you can work that post for the whole day. And every time somebody responds to your post, just like having a conversation, you need to respond back with a comment and a like. So you need to write engaging posts that's really speaking into your client's world. Get them talking. It's just about creating a conversation with people. And once you can start to create engaging posts, you will find that you can connect with people, because if somebody in your network likes your post, that post will go on the top of the home feed and scroll down to their network. So you'll start to grow your network as well. So it's twofold, but also you're starting that trust and like, know and trust credibility piece. And you're also growing your network and you're building the relationship. So for me, posting on the home feed has been a brilliant source of getting in new leads. And I think, like I said, sometimes I can get 40 or 50 new leads from just one post. Now, you won't just put a post out there necessarily and get it completely right. This is marketing, and you're going to have to test it. You're going to have to try stuff and see if that lands with your ideal client, your market, and then improve it and keep working that post. So that's probably the easiest, quickest way to really getting in front of people if you're just starting on LinkedIn that I could think of.
I think it tips for the beginners and also the professionals who really want to get into the LinkedIn and what are the benefits. And there's a question, is there any other way that we can schedule our LinkedIn post only from the LinkedIn platform instead of using the third-party tools like Agora, Pulse, and all these things? As far as I know, there is no options. So do you have any other suggestion where we can schedule on from the homepage LinkedIn?
From what I understand about the algorithms, that works against them. And LinkedIn is looking at your profile and looking for keywords. LinkedIn is looking at your activity and scoring you. And the higher the score, and this is essentially what your social selling index is, the higher your score, the more they're likely to promote your content, to promote your invitations, to allow your invitations to be released. So they want you on the platform. They want you to be on the platform and stay on the platform. So schedulers kind of work against you. But, we've got tools like Evernote. You can write content, and wherever you are, if you've got that mobile app on your phone, you can just copy and paste. It takes seconds. So that's the way of sort of overcoming that quite quickly.
Perfect. Amita, I have a very specific question for you. running a local business and their target audience, they know the entrepreneurs in the local business owner, they know their customers and their buying behavior. But suddenly, if you want to transform the business, entire business to online, that's a different kind of the customer behavior and the customer life journey. So how we can position ourselves, how we can build our new audience through online. Can you explain us in a very simple terms where the local entrepreneurs can understand how they can build their audience, how they can build their audience before they reach?
Speaking very specifically for LinkedIn platform, which is quite the topic for today's discussion, Sharangan.
Yes.
I think I mentioned this comment in one of the group discussions as well. The very first thing is your own brand, right? Business is there, yes, but getting yourself branded on LinkedIn, that's the first thing that you have to do as an entrepreneur, right? I've seen a lot of the time, the small, medium-sized entrepreneurs, what they do is they quickly, they get onto the platform and the next thing they do is they start promoting the business. I'd say first, give some time for yourself to get branded on LinkedIn as a trustworthy individual to connect with. The wait and watch theory. Maybe observe how others are actually engaging. Then you'll realize that there are a lot you can do in terms of building relationships. If I go back to this, like the theory of permission marketing, some of you would have read the book Permission Marketing by Seth Godin, which is a very popular reading in this topic, right? He talks about this theory of like, it's difficult to sell to strangers anyway. First, convert that stranger into a friend, and then you can convert the friend into a customer. And that customer, because of your friendship, will become your advocate later on. So my advice is for any small business owner or any new entrepreneur who is actually coming on board with LinkedIn, first be present there, start talking about your industry without any intention of getting leads. The first thing. Then your followers, your network will start trusting you as an authoritative person for this particular topic. After some time, you will get them talking to you, asking for solutions, right? Now, in fact, now I don't sell an e-commerce solution anymore, right? I don't work for an e-commerce company anymore, right? But because I'm interested in that field, because I worked for nearly 8 years in that field, I still actually make comments on LinkedIn about the e-commerce industry. During last 2 weeks, I have got more than like 5 inquiries from small startup e-commerce firms asking for solutions, right? Like, and if I'm an e-commerce consultant, those are 5 leads for me, right? That is actually without selling myself as an e-commerce consultant. I just talk about e-commerce, the industry, how they should respond during a situation like this, the COVID-19. And people read those comments, they watched my videos, and in their mind, now this guy is an e-commerce expert. That's how they perceive me. And then they reach out to me instead of me reaching out to them through the inbox. And that's 5 leads. Obviously, I don't do consultancy anymore. So in that case, I just give them free advices through my inbox. That's how it works now. But if you are into consultancy, that's how you get your lead. So just to sum up, my advice is first get yourself branded on LinkedIn as a trusted individual in the topic that you talk about, the topic authority that you have to build. And there are so much of ways you can do that. First, by creating content, of course. Second, more than creating content, I think you can come to creating content after some time. But before that, you have to engage with existing content. If there is a conversation about e-commerce, for example, already on LinkedIn, go out and put out your opinion as a comment. Start with that. Later, you can go out and start creating your own content to add on to that authority, right? And at the same time, the recommendations and endorsements, those things matters in terms of actually building up your authority on the topic you are talking about. Did I answer the?
Yes, you perfectly answered it. So, as Amita said, LinkedIn is not about a platform where you can promote and sell. This is a platform where you can showcase your skill and talent, influence the audience to let them to reach you, not to send a cold call or not a cold email to the LinkedIn. So there are etiquette, there are do's and don'ts when it comes to LinkedIn. So if you're going to talk about LinkedIn, there are a lot of things, but this session is very specifically about social selling and through the LinkedIn. So my next question for David, and there are questions. I mean, we have started a separate dedicated group only for the LinkedIn and how we can support each other's. And there are questions like why this is the right time, why you are aggressively getting into LinkedIn at this time. In my scenario, I'm into LinkedIn almost more than 8 years. But answering from the corporate level, David, he's having a very corporate background and also he's into social selling. So David, can you tell us why this is the right time to tap into the LinkedIn social selling marketplace?
I would say that it was the right time even before today.
Yes.
Being well prepared and being early helps get you ahead of the pack. Why is it right now? I think if you're looking at the current situation, is by force, okay, of habit. Now you're stuck at home. For example, if you're looking at a public holiday, and today is Friday, and it's a public holiday in Sri Lanka, am I right?
By today.
Yeah. If you're talking about people who are already working from home and it's a public holiday and you can't go out, how are you going to start to do your holiday at home? If you were prepared to holiday at home, that is. So it's always the right time. And if you're talking about, since you have to work from home and primarily one of the best ways to work from home is online, then it helps that you are online here. You see, on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is primarily an attention-related business. Let me give you an example. If I snap my fingers like this, okay, I'm trying to get your attention, all right? And if you can't get the attention of the people online, then it doesn't matter. On LinkedIn, there's an algorithm at the back end that not many people know of. If you make a post on LinkedIn, within the first 60 minutes, if you don't get 20 likes or 20 comments or 20 shares collectively, your post will never be trending. All right? And in order to get your post trending, you got to set up a network which is a self-help network. Let me give you an example, right? You set up LinkedIn Lead Gen Mastermind, okay? Let me make a suggestion. You use a LinkedIn hashtag LLM alumni. For everyone who has gone through your program, which is LinkedIn Lead Gen Mastermind, you ask them to use this hashtag LLM alumni, right? LLM alumni currently on LinkedIn, there are only 2 posts, so people won't mistake it for anything else, right? If you get your LinkedIn Lead Gen Masterminds, and the alumni would be everybody has gone through your program, to hashtag every single one of their posts with hashtag LLM alumni, and you tell them, guys, you got to help yourselves. I'm going to help you. Use this hashtag. Every post that you make, use this hashtag. All of us in this network who are LinkedIn Lead Gen Masterminds, when we see this hashtag, because every day we're going to go and search hashtag LLM alumni, when we see a post, please do us a favor. Click on the like or share it or if you feel that is relevant, comment on it. Because it's going to be very hard for any one of us alone to get 20 likes or comments or even shares. So let's all follow our own hashtags and help each other. Because if you get enough people using the same hashtag and checking the hashtag every day and liking it, all you need to do is within the same 60 minutes, you must have 20 collective likes, comments, or shares. As long as you get that, your post go trending. LinkedIn actually pushes the post up into the timeline that all of your connections get to see. Because if not, your connections can only see it pop in as an inbound, time-based, last in, first out. That means that if I post something at 3 p.m. and all of my connections are only on at 6 p.m. and somebody else posts something else on top, it gets buried. My post goes all the way down. But if I get 20 likes, comments, or shares, it's always at the top as long as my connections log on. I get to see that. So that is one of the first things that you can help yourself or help each other learn, that it's an attention-grabbing business. If you're not online at that specific point of time doing that posts, you will never get to see it anyway. The other tip that we offer to newbies who are learning how to do it at the same time is we will set up a class. After class is over, we say, hey, use this hashtag. And in Singapore, we use LinkedIn FAM for LinkedIn Family. When you use this hashtag, please, everyone, let's post on Friday at 7 p.m. So roughly on every week on Friday at 7 p.m., when everyone is posting, when they go there, they can see each other and they can see what's fresh. Because if you are posting at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., Monday, Sunday, any day, your post may get buried as long as it's not a trending post. So that's another way to help yourself.
That's quite interesting, very interesting. Thank you so much, David. So adding with David's point, it's also depending on the time and your target audience as well. Say an example, what David suggested that we are going to implement from May onwards, because what happened with the LinkedIn Mastermind, we just created an awareness because the people, most of them, they have no idea about LinkedIn, but they have a curiosity. They want to get into LinkedIn. So now the group of people like Amita and all these people, the people who are having the vast experience, we are trying to share our knowledge with them. So now this is the time that we need to gather and harvest the knowledge, people like you, from people like you, where we can feed to our people to get to know how they can leverage the potential of LinkedIn. That's a fantastic suggestion that you gave to us. So going back again with Jill. Jill, could you please tell us your top 3 favorite LinkedIn lead generation strategies that we are going to learn from May month onwards through our LinkedIn Mastermind group? So maybe we can borrow your brain for a while.
Yeah, sure. Love to. Okay, one of the first things is you've got to grow your network. Somebody was asking Thamith in the chat box, how do I get my business out of my country using LinkedIn? And for most businesses, their network on LinkedIn just isn't big enough. Typically, digitally, the conversion rate is 1% to 2% online. So if you work backwards and you want 10 new clients every month, then you know you've actually got to connect with a lot more people on LinkedIn. And you've really got to be clear about who you're identifying and who you want to speak with, who you know you can best serve. Because people are far more happy to accept a connection with you, an invitation with you as a peer on LinkedIn than they are if you were to cold email or cold call. So if you're thinking about moving your business to a different country, it's really going to be a case of you growing your network in that particular country. So growing your network is one key thing. Amit has covered another one, which is great, which is all about branding. So I won't cover that one. But I think you've got to get into a daily strategy. And this is a question that I get asked a lot. What should I do on a day-to-day basis? And I have 6. I call it my cup of tea. We love tea in Britain too. My cup of tea routine, or cup of coffee, if that's your thing. And we have 6 things that we do. 1 is engage on other people's posts on the home feed. Now, you've got to be strategic about this. You've got to, if you're looking for work with construction businesses, go through the post and engage with those construction businesses. You've got to post every day yourself on LinkedIn. I mean, I say 5 or 6 times. Everybody's got to have a day off. So that's really important. You've got to invite people to connect. You must keep growing your network, as I just alluded to. Number 4 is to accept invitation requests from other people. Now, you don't necessarily need to accept all of them. My criteria is, are they your ideal market, or do they have your ideal market in their network? Could they lead you to your ideal network? Once somebody connects with you, their network becomes your second-degree connections, and you then have the opportunity to connect with them. So accept connection requests and invite people, and then finally look at, and you must be messaging. Sorry, that's number 5. You must be messaging people. It's not enough to connect with somebody and disappear. That's like going to a networking event, shaking somebody's hand and saying hello, and then standing in the corner with your back to people. In real life, we wouldn't do it, but somehow we get this screen in front of us and we just connect. I like to send a welcome message to everybody that I connect with, and I personalize my invitation, because you're setting the tone of that relationship right from the start of how you want it to go. And then thirdly, I go to my notifications tab and I check what's going on in my network, so that I can stay abreast of what people are doing. You can see who's viewed your profile, and you want to communicate with them because they're clearly intrigued with who you are. And you can catch up on other activities and things that are going on with your network. So just those 6 things I think are really important. It takes 15 minutes to do that. And it means that you're active every day. And that will go a long way to really increasing your social selling index.
I have one question from you. So
yeah.
When it comes to posting at least 2 or 3 posts a day, do we really need to focus on, I'm just asking this question from the participant perspective. So do we really need to post something generic, or we need to maintain a sales tone? In my opinion, we don't want to maintain a sales tone, because this is not the marketplace where we need to advertise ourselves or we need to advertise our product. But specifically, we need to focus on something really generic, or something that related to our identity. Say an example, I'm a digital marketer, but yeah.
It's a fantastic question. Yeah, fantastic question. And I think there needs to be a mix. See, if people are going to spend their hard-earned money with me, they have to get a sense that they know who I am, they trust me, they know what I stand for. And that whole identity piece is really important. So if you're only ever popping a link in a post and saying, read this, nobody's really going to get to know you and understand the value that you can offer. So there has to be a mix of inspiring people, maybe educating people, the sort of how-to posts. They're some of my most brilliant posts that I write, but they get the least engagement because this is a social network. The amount of times that I've sweated over a post and I thought, that's blooming brilliant, and you get a very low engagement level, but they're important as people looking on your profile and on your activity as assets. So you also want to be writing, sort of wisdom posts, sharing some of your wisdom, personal stuff. occasionally, and I find this hard, but occasionally letting people have a look through the door and see what's going on in your business world or in your, in your personal life. And it just makes you a real person. And there is such an easy way when you're talking about all of this stuff. I mean, particularly if I'm sharing something that maybe one of my clients has struggled with. So this is more of a sort of letting people in and have a sneak peek in the door, that letting people know what some of my clients are struggling with or conversations that I've had. It's so easy to make an offer out of those sort of posts and say, look, if you're struggling with this, we've got easy solutions for you that will help you, that will shortcut the journey that, can sometimes take a long time. So, and a mix is so important because people will look at your profile and your activity, and in a second, they'll get an impression of you. And you want that to be an impression that makes them want to know more about working with you.
Thank you. Very impressive. So as Jill said, when you're posting, so just make sure that you're not only emphasizing your professionalism or maybe your interest-related posts that you're posting, just make sure mix with your something generic, and maybe you can create some kind of inspiring or inspirational for post, or maybe sharing something really worthy, but make sure that's a mixed content. Okay, that's very interesting.
To what Jill
I'm coming to you.
Yeah, actually, it's quite interesting. Her comment about the bringing out stories from the personal life. People would love to connect with you. It has to be relevant, yes, but people would love to connect with you the moment you actually open the door and bring a slice of life content to LinkedIn. Like I have two examples, like from my content, 2 posts which actually got a huge amount of traction on my personal LinkedIn profile. In both those posts, I was talking about my son. And it's not only about my son, actually son's education. So one picture was the school bag of my son, where I was talking about how heavy the school bag of a typical school child in Sri Lanka, and can't e-learning solve this problem. The tablet computers, that whole discussion. And it went to a level, someone actually tagged the education minister in the post. And not only that, very recently I posted how my son is actually conducting a tuition class through WhatsApp. And then I actually posted saying, okay, like if your students, they are not savvy enough to work with Microsoft Teams or Zoom or anything for e-learning, start with WhatsApp. That was my message to teachers, and that got a huge amount of traction on LinkedIn and a lot of comments and engagement and all. So that really works when you actually bring slice of life type of content and slightly actually add a story to it.
Thank you. So from our first session, Amita Gamake, he talked about something which is something realistic, what happened in his life. And when he's traveling somewhere near to Polnaru and Radhapura, and he saw a real incident and he shared it on the LinkedIn. And it went viral, and there are a lot of people, they shared that information. Even the relevant authorities, they reached to Amita Gamake and they took something and into exceptional level. So the LinkedIn is not only for the business and the working professionals, where you can create a massive amount of awareness to create a social impact. Okay, that's quite interesting. So again,
could I just address a question that's going through the chat? There's a couple of questions.
Can I finish, Amita, and come back to you?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Didn't realize you hadn't finished.
Thank you. So, Amita, I have a question for you. As you know, as we all know, the LinkedIn having a different consumer behavior and user behavior, and Facebook, Instagram, as well as all the social media platforms, they have their own behaviors and algorithms and the customer mindset, user mindset. But can you explain a little bit about do's and don'ts when it comes to LinkedIn? At least minimum 5 most important do's and don'ts when it comes to LinkedIn.
Well, Sharanan, pardon me, I won't be actually be able to like count it, but let me actually speak up, right? You took a very good opening comparing LinkedIn with other networks, right? I mean, there are like two schools of thoughts here, right? The two schools of thoughts is, in one end, there is this argument actually, when you are on social media, you can't maintain different personas or personalities, right? You have to be the same person everywhere, right? And you have to be with the same tonality and all. And then the other school of thought, no, you can maintain different personalities on these individual networks. So in that sense, actually, personally, I'm in that second school of thought, where I believe you can and you should maintain different personas on these networks. Because I mean, even in real life, that's what we do, right? The way I interact with you is totally different the way I interact with my family and my children, right? So I mean, socially, we are playing different roles in different occasions and places. Same thing applies to social media. You go to, in my belief, I mean, and it not only my, actually, as I said, like there is a school of thought. On social media, Facebook is to connect with your, real life friends, from your school days, your university days, your neighborhood, your family members and all, right? I mean, regardless of what are their occupations, where they are in their social life. So that's to connect with your friends. LinkedIn is a little more different. It's not necessarily, the connection doesn't necessarily start with a friendship, right? But you can end up being friends, connecting to people on LinkedIn, right? You connect with people on LinkedIn on a professional ground, but you convert that into a friendship as you go along. So in that sense, I'd say that there are certain do's and don'ts when it comes to each of these networks, the type of content that you share. So personally, I have discussed this with some of the people who are in the chat room also. Sanjay, you are there, right? Okay. So I've discussed these things, like when I have like personal chats and all, like on Facebook, knowing that it's my like close friend network who knows me sometimes from childhood for so many years. We've eaten together, we've been together so much closer to each other. So then in such a platform, I can openly actually go out and rant about something, or maybe be it politics or be it like sports or whatever. But if you do the same thing on LinkedIn, you are going to get kicked out from the community, because we don't come to LinkedIn to listen to someone else's like political rant or maybe political flattery or something like that, right? So then you need to be very careful about what you are doing on LinkedIn, right? Cat videos, I don't know, like, I mean, if it makes sense.
Cat videos.
Really.
I'm here.
Yeah. So likewise. And the other thing is, think of LinkedIn as a boardroom conversation, whereas Facebook as a dinner table conversation, right? In a boardroom conversation, there is a certain way that we address each other, we talk to each other, and there is a certain manner how we disagree with someone in a boardroom. But in a dinner table, or while you're having a casual drink with your friends, you can disagree with that person in any manner you want, right? So that's how in real life social engagement you have. That's what we see on Facebook. You go through any of the comment threads on Facebook or on these groups, and you will see people fighting, right? People fighting and people like throwing accusations around, and all that happen. That's totally fine on Facebook. That's totally fine on Facebook, because that's what Facebook is for. Your casual social relationships. But if you do the same thing on LinkedIn, it becomes an ugly place for everybody. So then, if you want to disagree with someone, there is a professional manner to disagree with the person and make your point across. And you should constructively keep that conversation going on. Because, I mean, we can't agree on everything, right? I mean, Sharanan might go out and post something on LinkedIn. It's like not always that I can agree with you. I post something, it's not always that Sharan can agree with, but like when we are in a professional network, there is a certain way that we need to actually, mutual respect is number one. I don't mean to say that on Facebook you don't have to have mutual respect. Yes, you have, but on LinkedIn, that's something that you have to be really careful about. And like, yeah, even there are like conversations about the type of topics you can bring on LinkedIn, like beyond like professional conversation. Should I talk about the yesterday's game of cricket, right? On LinkedIn, we do that always on Facebook, but should I bring that conversation on LinkedIn? You can in the right context. For example, during the World Cup, the past World Cup we had in England, in one of the matches. Now, I've been following the World Cup earlier on, and I was posting all my cricket posts on Facebook, not on LinkedIn. I was posting everything on Facebook. But one post I made on LinkedIn, that post was actually a leadership tip from our captain. So how he actually inspired the team to defeat England in a match. The day before the match, he took the team to the pavilion of that ground, the Hall of Fame of ground, and showed them pictures of how Sri Lanka beat England in that same venue 2 years ago in a test match which we were supposed to lose. And last minute we pulled a win. And he inspired the team, and that inspired team came and beat England on their home soil that day. And I took out that story and I created a post about cricket on LinkedIn, and it like got accepted by the audience and a lot of engagement happened. So it's not that you shouldn't be talking about sports on LinkedIn. You can, but bring out that the professional salt into it, right? And then it will be acceptable. Most of the time I see like people, they talk about cricket and all that, but from a very casual, social manner. Take that conversation to Facebook, bring this type of conversations to LinkedIn. So I don't know like whether I
Understood.
but
Okay, so in nutshell, what you're suggesting, now the platform first. So now the platform, and be very constructive. And when you're debating or when you're posting something, just be very constructive. And
yes.
the important part, that has to be something realistic. It's also another social network, social media platform. That makes sense. Makes a lot. Okay, I think Jill, that there's a question for you from the guest panel.
Yeah, I think David's done a good job of answering it in the chat. People were saying, "Where's the welcome message?" And there isn't anything on LinkedIn that says, "Here's the welcome message. Send this." It's a message that you create, and it's really about building that relationship with people and getting them talking before they disappear, like a lot of people. So David's done some, giving you some ideas of what he writes. I make it all about them because that's all we're interested in as people. And I tend to say something like, "It's great to be connected to you and would love to know a bit more about you. I've got a large network, so if there's anybody I can refer to you, then please let me know." And then I kind of throw in as an aside, by the way, I'm a LinkedIn geek and I help my clients generate leads consistently. So it's not a place to sell. If people sell on me on that first message, I delete them. It's about building, it's about building that relationship with people, which is so important, because what you don't want is for people to accept your invitation and then to just disappear into the ether and never see you again. You want to get stuck in their minds. You want them to remember a little bit of something about you. You want them to start having that backwards and forwards conversation to build the relationship.
Thank you, Jill. I think we had around 1 hour very fruitful and productive conversation so far. And I have just one question from David. So not only the David, from 3 of you guys, can you tell us, I mean, within within a minimum 3 points that you can take it. Can you tell us what is your favorite social selling strategy when it comes to LinkedIn? We know that influential marketing and creating a very intriguing post will create an engagement, just that you suggested. But when it comes to LinkedIn lead generation, there are different hacks and strategies, specific hacks and strategies. So can you tell us minimum amount of 3 strategies that you are pushing every day or every week? Starting from David, as usual.
I thought I was going to just, you got panelists, The one I like to use most is not on the free LinkedIn platform, is on the Sales Navigator, which is a premium feature. And the reason why I like to use that is because there is a feature on LinkedIn Sales Navigator that allows me to save an account. Saving an account allows me to save the entire company that I'm targeting. To explain it, I'm in the education sector, so my end customers are universities and schools. Allowing me to save all the universities as an account on LinkedIn Sales Navigator allows me to look at my saved searches for an account by company name. None of the activity of the contacts do I need to be connected with. So what happens is, if I save the National University of Singapore, and any contact who is an employee or staff of the National University of Singapore that is on LinkedIn, if they post something and they comment on something, if they shared something, if they changed their jobs in the last 90 days, or if they post something on a media platform, for example, a magazine or newspaper that's also online, LinkedIn crawls all the media platforms for the exact same name and job title, and they do a fuzzy match. If there is a match of someone that is a member of the university that I am following as an account, shows up in a media report such as Time Magazine, I would be able to see that this guy has posted something fresh, or he just recently got promoted, or recently he moved from University A to University B. Immediately, those are hot contacts for me, as long as they have socially engaged online, they have posted a comment on it, and I can actually reach out to them immediately. This is extremely good for B2B on a professional platform such as LinkedIn.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. So can we get a comment from Amita? What are your favorite LinkedIn lead generation strategies when it comes to the monetization?
Right. I wouldn't say it has actually LinkedIn lead generation strategies, Sharan, and the reason is, as I said earlier, so my purpose on LinkedIn is not necessarily to drive sales lead. So I'm here to actually build my personal brand through that. Actually, I'm actually generating lead for my education business, that is Appidum, but we are not actually directly measuring the lead count. So therefore, I won't go specifically into that, but I'll tell you few things that a newbie on LinkedIn can do to learn from me to increase their visibility on LinkedIn, and through that, how you can actually nurture leads and convert leads. So first, on a daily basis, very, very important thing that I do. I think Jill touched on this in an earlier conversation, checking and replying to any unanswered message on my inbox. So that's something that I religiously do on a daily basis. Very rarely I miss a day, but I make it a habit, or make it a thing that I don't let a message unanswered for more than a day. I mean, I make my all attempts to actually answer it within few hours, but then again, when you are not 100% on spending time there, obviously it can get dragged on. But every day I'm checking my inbox, and then I go through the news feed and I do engage with content which are interesting to me. I don't do that just for the sake of doing it. I go through the news feed and I actually leave comments and I engage with content which are really interesting to me. And that again, I very much focus on the original content created by people rather than links shared to third-party websites. Of course, if the link is interesting to me, I'll click on it. But if it's an original opinion posted by someone, then I go out and leave a comment. Through that, I can actually build relationship with my network. And weekly basis, one thing that I do is, of course, very recently I started video blogging, vlogging, and I have made a commitment to myself that I'm going to post at least one video every week. I have actually worked out a plan for that, the shooting and editing process, and I'm going to out one video blog every Tuesday. So that's my goal on a weekly basis. Through that, again, my objective is to actually to ramp up the engagement, and through that make the visibility improved. Through that, get my mileage to my training business, education business. That's what I'm doing there. And apart from the videos, I aim to post at least 3 other posts per week. And I learned something new from Gil today, that it's even better to post maybe 4, 5, 6 times a day. I have to consider that, but I've been maintaining like 3 to 4 posts per week. So that's something that I do. And one more thing that I do is basically, because I'm working with the academia and I'm a trainer and I work with universities and all, I have a huge network of students who connected with me on LinkedIn, right? And what happens is, I decline their request on Facebook, as for the reason that I mentioned earlier. I maintain my Facebook for my personal relationships. So I only have about like 600 or just about 600 friends on my Facebook, whereas 10,000 on LinkedIn. On Facebook, I decline those requests from students, but when they actually connect to me on LinkedIn, I always accept them, because they wanted me as a mentor to go beyond the classroom session. So then I respect them and I actually accept them. But very interesting thing happens when you are doing that. What happens is, you are building a network of people who are junior to you all the time. I'm talking about, these are all like 20 years, 21 years old university students who are connecting to me by requesting me, right? So then when I get into my newsfeed, most of the time, the content that I see are from people who are less experienced than me and junior to me. Because of that, another habit that I do is, on a weekly basis, I do a LinkedIn search, people search, and I try to connect with industry leaders, not only from Sri Lanka, from rest of the region. I mostly go for Singapore, Malaysia, and the surrounding hubs. And I try to connect with like-minded people who are more experienced than me in these industries, and who had like better exposure than me in digital marketing and branding and advertising. And I send requests to them, and I add like at least 10 such like leaders in my industry. And that helps me to learn and to get like additional insights from people who are senior to me. And once in a while, you get actually really connected with one of these senior people, and that actually adds value to your the profile or your CV. So those are some of the things that I do, which I suggest some of the newbies to.
Understood. Thank you so much for sharing all these valuable information, valuable points with us. And so let me sum up what we have learned today, instead of talking about what we shared. So we started with creating an awareness. I mean, why LinkedIn is important, and what is social selling, especially when it comes to the small scale business entrepreneurs. And we discussed about social selling, and David, Jill, and Amita, they shared their the preferred social selling and the segment process and targeting strategies. in a way that they explained to us. And we learned about the sales lead generation tactics, hacks from the respective panelists. And now I think this session is all about 90 minutes, only 90 minutes. And we have around another 20 minutes more. So that's for the question answer. And nowadays, recently started reading with this book name called Developing the Leaders Around You, Developing the Leaders Within You. That's from John Maxwell. So with that, let me transfer this host to Nagul Selvan, where I'm trying to groom him to take over the LinkedIn, the mastermind group. When what happened 4 years back, I started a group name called LinkedIn Global, and connected with all the global LinkedIn people, LinkedIn, the enthusiasts, to create contents. What happened? They requested admin and manager access. End of the day, it didn't go well. So I strongly believe the positive dictatorship is important if you really want to pursue something in a disciplined way. So now I'm grooming all these people, like the dedicated moderators. They are spending their time, like 1 hour, they are spending their time to educate others, to create content, worthy content, and sharing with others and motivating the people to learn about LinkedIn. So now I'm passing to Nagul Selvan to take it from here to manage the question answer from the participants. Nagul, over to you.
Hello, it's good night in Papua New Guinea. Hello, all panelists and all the listeners over there, all the participants over there. Yes, we can go ahead with the questionnaires. Like if anyone want to ask questions, you can unmute your mic and you can ask questions. We do have about 3 or 4 questions to take. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you can address the panelist, or you can throw a general question to everyone of them. Is everyone can hear me?
Yeah. What are the strategies that you suggest for company or corporate pages? I mean, we were talking about individual pages, but what can you suggest for corporate pages? What are applicable compared to an individual page? What should be the activity level and things like that?
Yeah, could I get this one to start with? I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see businesses make with company pages is they make it too corporate. And we're selling and we're promoting and we're connecting with real people in other corporate businesses. And it goes back to what I said about having that mix of really good content. You've got to constantly keep delivering relevant content. You have to work harder with a company page as well. So you have a short window once somebody has liked your company page to get them to engage in content. And if it's not appealing, if it's just too stuffy, if it's all about what's going on in the business, it doesn't resonate. You know, a lot of the responses that we make on social platforms is based on how things make us feel. That's part of our human behavior. So I would color up any content that you have on your company page.
Thank you, Jill.
Anyone, Mr. Amita, do you want to add to that?
Just one point to add, actually, like to ramp up the engagement for your company page, one feature you can use is LinkedIn prompts you when there are like relevant content on the home feed from other organizations or other individuals which are relevant to your company's scope. They prompt you to answer or engage in that conversation as the company, not as the individual. So use these opportunities wisely, right? It's not actually for you to actually go out and say, just comment like, okay, wow, nice post. No, add some value as your company. So you are given an opportunity to respond to someone else's content representing the company. Through that, you can actually improve the visibility of the company to the followers of that particular individual or that particular other organization. So that's one tool that you can actually utilize to ramp up your company profile.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nuwan. Hope that give the answer to you.
I think that answers very well. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, is there anyone else who want to ask a question? We have a space for another 3 questions.
I strongly believe Sanjay or maybe Venki, probably they may have a lot of questions because they already asked whether David and Amita Jill are coming really. So they might have questions.
While they're coming up with their questions, is it okay just to share something very briefly that I've also found working really well? If you've got the mobile app, when you're in your inbox, you've got the ability to record a message for people, which has been out for many, many years now. But they're also introducing, and I've just got in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks, the ability to record a video in the inbox. And it's incredibly personable to be seeing somebody's face, communicating with you and wanting to communicate with you. The key here is to getting the right message. It's not about selling to people. It's about building that relationship first. And not many people are doing this in LinkedIn at the moment. I'm not sure if it's being rolled out to all countries, but it's an incredibly powerful tool that we have at our fingertips to be able to quickly record a really warm message, your welcome message. It would be great to do as a welcome message, and sort of solidify ourselves in our market, our networks minds. So if you've got that, I suggest you play around with it and use it because it's a great tool.
Thank you very much, Jill, for the direct comments. I do have a question for myself, to Mr. Amita. Now, every small entrepreneurs, SME is jumping to online, but there's a problem with the supply chain. Okay, it's like everybody jumping into it, but who's going to, at least the final product or service, going to give it to the customer? So what's the challenge, or how can they overcome that supply chain problem?
You are specifically asking about e-commerce, e-business,
yes.
Or
the e-commerce,
the e-commerce value chain, the managing the supply chain. And okay, I have one more point to clarify. Are you referring to the present day situation or in generally the COVID-19 situation?
Because everyone jumping into online, even the small business owners,
Can I moderate this question, Nagul? This is all about LinkedIn and lead gen, but I would strongly recommend, because I have shared and all the guest speakers' contact detail, it would be great if you can reach them via LinkedIn or email, because I understand the question is something that if you really want to get an answer, that should be very extensive. Probably he needs 5 to 10 minutes to give you a brief answer, a comprehensive answer. So my suggestion to you, it's better if you can reach him personally. Probably you can get a better answer.
Sure.
We can get a word of thanks from one of our participants to get a feedback about we really need to measure the quality of this event. I'm sure David and Jill, Amita, they have shared something really incredible tips and hacks, and also they spend a lot of time with us. We are really grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for spending sharing your knowledge with us. Let's hear a feedback or maybe a word of thanks from one of our participants. Guys?
Hi, I'm Anuragavan. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone to taking off their time on a day like this to come and actually invest on our knowledge. So first of all, I would like to thank Mr. David. I really like your comparison of how your social media page is like a small child. You have to actually take care of it. That was really good. It's in a way which could relate back to me. And about Jill, thank you very much. And the learning I took from you was that 50 minutes workout every single day. How the 6 tips which I could use to engage every single day in terms of creating a good engagement in the platform. And finally, Mr. Amita, your analogy of how you should make you should start from a stranger, then to a friend, then to a customer, and then to an advocate. That path really enlightened me on a different perspective. Thanking all the people who took your time, I would like to also thank Sharanyan for organizing going to such extent to enlightening the Sri Lankan audience on a global scale. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank Nagul for his contribution as well. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Anuragavan, for your feedback. feedback are the keys where we can improve our next session, to identify our pitfalls as well as to get some insight from the panelists and the participants' perspective. I think this is we can wrap up the session. Before that, this session is going to get recorded. It's recording. It will get published by tomorrow itself within less than 24 hours. We will upload in our LinkedIn Mastermind group as well as in the YouTube. We will share with you guys. If anything, please feel free to share your comments on our LinkedIn Mastermind group, as well as David said, make sure the YouTube will get shared on LinkedIn. Make sure go and share your experience. And also we have a separate thread on our LinkedIn with our panel of guests, the guest speakers, and where you can ask very specific questions, and from their free time they will answer you. I think we have another session by next week. I'll keep you posted about the dates. And once again, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.